Welcome back, Truth Seeker. February 13th, 2020, Fox News and other outlets published this story about a Dean Koontz novel from 1981 that predicted the coronavirus outbreak beginning in Wuhan, China. And we're going to look at this article in a moment, and I'm going to show you how sick this is. But first, we're going to go back to Event 201 because everyone needs to know about Event 201, and I'm going to show you how this Dean Koontz novel fits in perfectly. So, Event 201 took place October 18th, 2019 in New York. It was hosted by the Johns Hopkins Center and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what it was about was simulating a coronavirus outbreak and how pharmaceutical companies would respond and those responsible for distributing drugs to communities in case there was a terrible outbreak. Now consider the next month, November, Bill Gates did a Netflix show and he talked about a coronavirus outbreak that could impact millions. And then shortly after that, Netflix came out with the documentary Pandemic, where again, Bill Gates of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was talking about a viral outbreak of coronavirus. And all of this came before the actual news stories of a coronavirus outbreak. And again, from the date of Event 201, which was October 18, 2019, to Patient Zero for coronavirus in Wuhan, which was December 12th, 2019, that was 56 days later. And coronavirus equals 56, like Event 201 is 56. And there's a lot more to this, but now let's talk about the new novel. And actually, let me just scan the Fox News article real quick. We'll just read the opening part, and then we'll break this down. Author Dean Koontz eerily predicted the coronavirus outbreak in his 1981 thriller, The Eyes of Darkness. The fictional novel tells the story of a Chinese military lab that creates a new virus to potentially use as a biological weapon during wartime. The lab is ironically located in Wuhan, China, and the made-up virus is called Wuhan 400. In the novel, the virus is called the perfect weapon because it only affects humans. It also cannot survive outside the human body for more than a minute and does not require an expensive decontamination process once it spreads through a population and those who contract it. The coincidence between the book's virus and the actual coronavirus outbreak is uncanny. Let's see if this is really a coincidence or if this is another example of predictive programming that was put in fiction before it happened in real life. This has been done all throughout history, going back to the 1800s. The oldest example I know of is the book Futility, Wreck of the Titan, which came out in the late 1800s. It's about the largest ship ever built sailing the Atlantic from Europe to the United States. The ship is called the Titan, and on its first sail, it hits an iceberg and sinks. Does that sound like the story of the Titanic? Of course, if you've never seen my work on this sinking of the Titanic, it was perfectly synced with the establishment of the Federal Reserve. And if you're not aware, the three richest men in the world who were all opponents of the Federal Reserve in the U.S., they all died on that ship. A ship and a trip that was planned by J.P. Morgan, who financed the boats, who got off the boat just before it set sail because he wasn't feeling well. Think about how his name is all over one of the biggest banks in the world now. Anyhow, here's another headline from yesterday. A virus called Wuhan 400 makes people terribly ill in a Dean Koontz thriller from 1981. How is it that some books appear to prophesy events? Prophecy, huh? So February 13th, again, that was the date of this story, the date of the Fox News story and others as well. February 13th is the 44th day of the year. 31 days in January plus 13 more days in February brings you to number 44. Dean Koontz equals 44 like prophet. Now, is Dean Koontz a prophet, or is he someone that's paid by the cabal to create fiction, that are details planned for a future event that will be told to the world is a real thing or a coincidence. And if I'm not communicating that clearly enough, again, it's very clear that the people who control these entertainers, from authors to movie directors and producers to musicians, it's clear that they're being told to insert certain details in their work that are for events that are planned to take place in this ongoing agenda we're living out. An agenda that's carried out by psychopaths who know they can rule the populace with fear and intimidation and nonstop. You know, from the Titanic to September 11th to Wuhan to so many other things in between, this has been done. So, just look at this. If you're new here, we talk about gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. There are 4 base ciphers: the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. The name of this book is The Eyes of Darkness, which equals 199, which is the 46th prime. Virus equals 46, so does Dean Koontz. Notice The Eyes of Darkness is also 260. We've been talking a lot about 26 with coronavirus. The new name COVID-19 equals 26. We covered this yesterday. But virus is also 26, not too far from 260. The Eyes of Darkness is also 89, like virus. And you know how for the first time ever a subtitled film from China won the Oscar this year called Parasite. Parasite's 89 as well. So anyhow, the Eyes of Darkness has very similar gematria to virus. And again, Dean Koontz is 46 like virus. Again, the title of the book, 199, the 46th prime. The 4 base ciphers. Here they are. The Eyes of Darkness and virus. The one association we didn't cover was the 7337. Clearly those numbers are reflections of each other. And again, here's the Hollywood film from China that just won Best Film, first Best Film ever that was subtitles. China's film Parasite, not a coincidence. Again, just a reminder that the cabal loves to mock us in our face and expect us to not see the obvious or chalk it up as coincidence. And if you're new here, for years I've educated about how the mainstream media does what I call coincidence programming. Back to your regularly scheduled programming where we mock your ass and tell you to believe it's a coincidence. And again, before I go any further with this, just to remind people, before George W. Bush took the White House and his administration with it, his administration was part of a think tank called the Project for a New American Century, and they wrote a document calling for a new Pearl Harbor. Their words, a new Pearl Harbor, so that they could launch wars in the Middle East. Bush's first year as president, we get 9/11, which books were written about called A New Pearl Harbor. And what buildings fell in New York that day? 1, 2, and 7. Buildings 1, 2, and 7. What's the date of Pearl Harbor? Was it December 7th, 127? Yes, it was. Anyhow, the name of the strain in his book, in the Dean Koontz book, is Wuhan 400. Notice when you write out Wuhan 400, it's 201. Just like Event 201 simulated the coronavirus outbreak and then is perfectly synced with patient 0. So now get a load of this. Notice that Dean Koontz is 74 years old at the time this is happening. He's 74 years old right now, the author of this book. Remember, Event 201 was on the day, leaving 74 days left in the year. The first case in the United States was found just north of Seattle in Snohomish County, which is Bill Gates' land. The Bill and Melinda Gates is headquartered in Seattle. Bill Gates' Microsoft company. By the way, Microsoft is 46 like virus. They put out the video game A Plague's Tale just before coronavirus began. But October 18th, the day leaving 74 days left in the year, the first case was found in Snohomish County in the U.S. Coronavirus 74, Bill and Melinda Gates 74. Again, Dean Koontz, 74 years old right now. If you've read my book, I educate about how many of the New World Order plots are centered around the number 74. Just like how the World Trade Centers were on the 74th meridian. The pattern that never ends. So Dean Koontz is 74 years old right now. Event 201 took place on the day, leaving 74 days left in the year. From his birthday to Event 201 was 101 days. Koontz is 101. 101 is the 26th prime number. China, virus, plague, they're all 26. COVID-19 is 26. Covered this yesterday. And you know what? Just to be thorough, let's put it up on the screen. COVID. Somebody told me that when you translate COVID from English to Hebrew, and I haven't even done this myself, from English to Hebrew, it equates to Kobe. I'm going to have to check that out just because Kobe Bryant, the headline is now that he was buried in Corona del Mar, and he was fighting the pharmaceutical company just before his death. But COVID, 26. So again, from Dean Koontz's birthday to Event 201, 101 days. Okay? Now, from his birthday to patient 0 was 157 days. And 157 is the 37th prime. Virus is 37. So is Bryant. Kobe Bryant's 157. Kobe Bryant just died on his 157th day of his age. And then for the kicker, from Dean Koontz's birthday to the Chinese New Year, which is the year of the rat and rat-spread plagues, was his 201st day of his age. Event 201, year of the rat 142, like coronavirus 142. Isn't it sick, True Seeker? Isn't it sick? January 25th, 25/1, like 251, the 54th prime. Remember when Bill Gates did that episode for Netflix predicting the coronavirus outbreak? It was on November 7th, the day leaving 54 days left in the year. The word sun equals 54. Corona, you know, the rays of the sun, the crest, the crown, calendars, time, sun, moon. Don't be the person who asks if Dean Koontz planned this. No, Dean Koontz did not plan this. Dean Koontz, though, is clearly a tool of this cabal. You know, Dean Koontz has supposedly published 105 books. Let me tell you, as somebody who's written a book, I don't know how you can possibly write 105 books in a lifetime. Doesn't seem possible. Again, my book is 800 pages long, so it's longer than most books, but still, I mean, to write a book and to do it right, it takes time. 105 books. Again, a lot of these authors have a lot of ghostwriters, and you know, a lot of these authors whose names are on there, it's just because they got the catchy names, they got the right gematria. Just remember, New York Times will make you a bestseller, not if your book's the best, but if they want it to be out there. You know, if you're in the cabal, you'll have success in the commercial world. If you're not, you'll struggle like myself. You can write one of the best books ever written, which no doubt I know I've done. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I mean, my book breaks a code that's never been broken before. Unprecedented. And in the 2 years it's been out, it's sold just barely over 10,000 copies. A Dean Koontz novel sells 10,000 copies in the first minute it's out. So, anyway. Just recognize he's no prophet. This is called mockery. This is the world we're living in. We're living out a planned script. A lot of it is from the Bible, scripture. Again, the Bible is the playbook of the powers that shouldn't be. You know, it's been mistranslated. It's been edited. Books have been removed. It is the playbook. So, just like how Kobe Bryant's become part of this, and his death was predicted in a Comedy Central cartoon, and, you know, that cartoon was called End of Days, just like the end of the book, Revelation, death, disease, illness, fire, destruction. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing from all angles. So, if you want to come read the post, GematriaEffectNews.com. You got the Gematria calculator right here. You know, you can just plug in things and go to town. You learn Gematria. You see how relevant this is. And Again, just because Kobe Bryant's still the thing on everybody's mind. Kobe Bryant dead at 41 on his 157th day of his age. A month before his death, on his 113th day of his age, he was in national news for being involved in a car accident and helping direct traffic. And then, of course, King James, the real King James, who died at age 58, Freemasonry 58, Rosicrucian 58. He was a Freemason, Rosicrucian. He dropped dead at age 58. LeBron King James passed Kobe in Philly in points scored the day before Kobe's death in Kobe's hometown of Philadelphia, which gets its name from Revelation. He dropped Kobe to 4th in scoring. 4 is associated with death. The 4-letter name of God's the Tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton's 58. And then Kobe's dead by the numbers. And if you've read my book, all of these numbers are addressed in regards to Kobe Bryant and his career. And then, again, he ends up dying by the same numbers I wrote about in terms of how his career was scripted. So this knowledge, super powerful. It'll allow you to break out of the matrix and see right through it. Until next time, Truth Seeker.